question. We'll get to that coming up. Football at alcorn.edu. Send us an email and we'll answer your question on the air. You talk about adjustments and you talk about different things to deal with. Of course, coming off the championship, the highs coming off of that, and I go back and I'll never forget. This was what, in March. You had it was a whirlwind. Meeting with the legislature and meeting with different folks coming down off that high, and it was so many events that your team had to do. But at some point, it all had to end. You had to get ready for football, and just talk about that. Coming off that particular high, and getting ready for the challenge ahead.
Well, I think that's the great thing about playing Georgia Tech in the home opener, the away opener, at least the opener of the season, because if Georgia Tech will take you off that high, you get a chance to look at an excellent football team, and I think our guys are smart enough to realize that, hey, if we don't prepare and understand that this is a great challenge, nothing will. And we understand it was a great year last year, but last year's in the past, and I think our guys understand we've got to go out and work for everything if we want to do it again this year.
I was talking with Anthony Williams III sometime in the summer or the spring, and when the team got their championship rings in March at one of the home basketball games, that was a great thing. But I was talking with Ant Williams about it, and I think you mentioned to him and the team, hey, enjoy the rings, but then put them in the drawer because enjoy it for what it is, but at some point, you got to forget about that.
That's right, and it's time to get ready for the next season. And that's football and that's life in this game. So, we've got a big challenge ahead of us this week, and that's all we're concentrating on right now is Georgia Tech. In fall camp, you get ready for the whole season, try to take care of things that you're going to need throughout the year. But 8-9 days into game week of Georgia Tech, it's all Georgia Tech, and that's all we're focusing on. And we know they're an excellent football team, and so we've got to have some good practices.
How has the team handled that whole transition, the whole mental aspect of the game?
Well, we're gonna find out. We'll find out a lot Thursday night. You know me, Charles. We'll find out Thursday night at 7 o'clock how we're handling things. And again, I'm anxious to watch this 2015 Braves team take the field because it is kind of like Christmas Day a little bit. You get a chance to find out what you're good at, what you need to work on, and where you are as a football team. So we're looking forward to it.
What excites you about this football team?
Well, we've got some guys back that have been playmakers, and we're looking forward to them having a big 2015 season. I think that's one thing that's been good. I think already in camp we've had 5 or 6 NFL teams come by. We're going to have possibly 7 tomorrow. So, we're getting in the first 2 weeks. We've had a lot of NFL teams come by. So that's certainly exciting for our guys. But I think they understand they've got to go out and perform on Saturday.
We're going to take a timeout here. We're going to break down the team. We'll squeeze in some phone calls. We've already got one on hold from Mobile, Alabama. We'll get to that coming up. We'll take our first time out with our producer, Jamario Brooks. Glad you can join us on a flagship station of the Alcorn Football Radio Network, WPRL 91.7 FM and WPRL.org. WMIS, WTYJ in Natchez, 1240 AM and 97.7 FM. Diana Neller, Calvin Butler, the folks over there doing another great job down in the Natchez area. And for the first time in Vicksburg, V105.5 in Vicksburg, Dalen Husky, the sports director, Mark Jones, the owner. Glad you can join us. And starting next week, WGDQ 92.1 in Hattiesburg will join us. We'll take our first time out, and we'll get to our phone calls, and we'll talk about the offense when we come back after this 1-minute timeout. All right, 10 minutes after the hour, Charles Edmond here, head coach Jay Hopson on the Jay Hopson radio show. Our producer, Jamario Brooks, and he's informed us we have a caller, Willie Jones from Mobile. I was down in Gulf Shores a couple of weeks ago, passing through Mobile, enjoyed my time there. Willie Jones joins us. Good evening, Mr. Jones.
Hey, Willie. Great. Great question, Willie. Guys that have had good, and guys, injuries and maturity as far as learning the playbook, a lot of things go into effect whether a young man plays as a freshman or not. Some guys that have had good fall camps and stayed healthy. Terry Whittington, a defensive end outside linebacker, has really had a good camp. Quentin Smith, a defensive back, has had an outstanding summer camp also. Look for Marquise Warford. He's a young man that is a receiver that's done a tremendous job and had a great camp. So, and I know I'm missing some guys, but those are 2 or 3 guys. Trey Farrell at linebacker has really done some good things. So we've got some young men that have come in and really made us better. So I'm anxious to watch them play on Thursday night. Okay, thank you, Willie. Appreciate it. Okay.
All right, Willie, we appreciate you, we appreciate your call here, Willie Jones from Mobile, Alabama. Don't forget, give us a call at 601-877-6595. All right, Jay Hopson, let's look at it. Let's look at the offense, a team that scored 50 rushing touchdowns last season. The trigger man is brave senior quarterback John Gibbs. How rare, Jay Hopson, do you have as a college coach to have a 4-year starter at quarterback in these days and times in football?
It's very rare. I mean, John came in as a freshman, and after the second game has been our starting quarterback. And again, just done a tremendous job for us. We're blessed to have Foot right there with him, behind him, because we have some young quarterbacks who are really special players too. But we got some experienced quarterbacks that are really special and talented. And John's a young man that has been a leader. He's been a playmaker for us for 3 years, and he's a guy that we look to, to make big plays. And John's been a key component to our success. So looking forward to a big year from John. And I think all the accolades he gets are well deserved. John's done a tremendous job here, and I just love him to death and proud he's brave.
And he talks about the whirlwind of an off season and the challenge of trying to get it done yet again. That's John Gibbs. And you talked about Lenoris Footman. Talk about his patience and how he's just been able to stay with it, because you never know when your number's called.
And Lenoris last year came in and did some tremendous things for us. And again, he's a young man that he'll do some tremendous things this year too. We're blessed. I mean, those are 2 very talented young men, and just excited.
In the backfield, we lost Anthony A-Train Williams, but returning Darian Ragsdale and Aaron Baker, second team all-conference. Talk about the backfield.
Rag and Baker definitely had big years last year. Rag, I think before he got hurt at Grambling, was averaging about 9.5 a carry, which is tremendous. We had a couple highlight reels there on some leap overs in a couple games, but he's a tremendous talent. He's a tough young man. And Aaron, likewise. Aaron's a power back, and he runs hard. And we have a lot of other guys too that in that backfield that are key contributors. We've had guys, Joe Price and Lance Turner, and they've made big plays through the spring and the summer. Ashton Hall's come on and done some really good things. Jeremiah Sams. So at running back, that there's certainly some players back there, and we're in a running back. You need that because those guys take a lot of hits, and there's always a chance that, you're going to have a running back banged up now and then during the season. So you need depth at that position, and I think that's one thing we have.
Did Baker and Ragsdale kind of grow on you, or did you kind of knew what you had there?
Well, I think any time in college football, they've got to come in and prove, what they can do. But Rag instantly came in the spring a year and a half ago, and just, set the tempo. And then, Aaron's a young man that I have a special relationship with, and he's just really been a battler, and I just see him getting better and better and better. So, just really proud of those guys. Like I said, Joe and DeLance do a lot of great things too. So, I mean, we've got some running backs, and we just got to stay healthy, and that's part of the journey.
The return of Joe Price and coming back after an injury, that's, you and Joe have that bond, and what do you expect from him this year?
Well, Joe's a young man that, he can be a home run hitter. He's that guy that's got a lot of speed and he can get the ball and take it to the house when he gets his opportunity there. And again, DeLance has done a lot of good things too. And he gets the ball, he can take it to the house. Big, strong, powerful back. Again, and Ashton's run hard. Jeremiah, I could go on. The running backs, you could get tongue-tied, talking about them, but they're a very talented group. And the good thing is we got some older guys and we got some younger guys. And sometimes the younger guys, sometimes you have to wait your turn a little bit, but they're young. They still got, some of them have 4 years of eligibility left, so that's a good thing. Even though they might not get all the carries they want this year, in the future, they can be stars.
Speaking of stars, the offensive line was one of the big units that were the stars last year. Only allowed 7 sacks. You got some all-conference performers up front, and those guys have been together.
We said it. We had a lot last year, but this year in the preseason, we were kind of dumbfounded. none of them got named to the preseason all-conference list. And I think we had, 3 or 4 last year that we finished up first team or second team all-conference. So hopefully they'll, show everybody why they've been guys like Isaac and DD and Jonathan. They'll show guys why they've been 2- and 3-year all-SWAC players again this year. So that was one of the things we didn't really understand. But at the end of the day, that we were certainly excited to have them back for their senior year.
Isaac Sampson talks about the rarity, just 7 sacks allowed. How often does that happen? And he talks about building up that offensive line and the camaraderie. And you look at Skelly and Gazia under center, Sampson, Dave, Reno, 2-2. That's a very massive and special group. At media day, they kind of huddled up in their own little units, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and they were kind of all in a circle just talking amongst each other. The camaraderie there is terrific.
Right, DD too. We've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps together on the offensive line, so that again is a positive. It's offensively a lot of experience coming back this year, and that's always a good thing.
So when you look at the backups now, you got the experience now. Some of the guys that need to step up and get some action. Talk about that.
Well, we've had some guys that have really, Edric Thigpen's a young man that came in the spring, has done a tremendous job. He's battling for a starting job, so certainly excited about Edric. Big Bubba Brooks from Meridian. Bubba's a freshman that has had a tremendous camp. Pablo Williams has done a tremendous camp. Going to be 2 future stars. We've got some young linemen that have done a really good job, and just excited about those young men.
So when you look at second-year offensive line coach Ryan Stanchek, talk about the job that he's done.
Ryan's a technician and has done a tremendous job with those guys. He's a former offensive lineman and all conference and the NFL player himself. So Ryan is a guy that I think relates well with our offensive line, does a tremendous job with them. I think it's always big and important to have an offensive line coach that played offensive line. else. It is about communication. It is understanding, what everybody's doing. So Ryan's done a tremendous job, and just proud he's brave.
Then you look at the receivers. How many do we have in camp at one time? 18?
We got some receivers, yeah, we do. I think we're deep at that position. Unfortunately, we lost LaDarren a couple weeks ago. I don't know if he'll be back this year or not, but we got a lot of guys there at that spot, and they're all working hard, and it should be a lot of competition. But the fun thing about receiver is everybody's usually going to play 30 or 40 snaps, and there'll be rotations, so those guys will get a lot of playing time.
And that leading the way there, obviously Jordan Payne, first team all-conference coach. Talk about his development from quarterback when he walked on campus to what he's doing right now.
Jordan has kind of been an X factor for us. He really has. He's a young man that is very talented, could do a lot of things. Could play quarterback, running back, tight end. We've talked about that, Charles, over the years. He's a guy that he's a preseason All-American candidate. He's all-conference player for a couple of years and All-American. But Jordan's a guy that has made a ton of plays here. He's a class act and just a really exceptional, not only football player but person. And we're excited about Jordan. And again, Jordan's a guy that we need to make plays for us in order to be successful.
And you have Charles Hughes, and one guy that I think and everybody is ready to step out is Jarvis Turner. I thought the last few games of the season he really stood out, and I'm sure a lot expected this year.
Yeah, I mean, Charles had a tremendous year last year, and Jarvis is a young man that has made a lot of big plays for us, both those guys will be impact players for us for sure. And, Jarvis is a young man that, like you said, just fits the bill in every category, speed, size, strength. I know a couple of the NFL scouts came by the other day, and he was wearing number 8, and they just kept saying, "Who's number 8? Who's number 8?" So Jarvis, he definitely. We're looking forward to a big year for Jarvis.
What about Brandon Vessel?
Brandon, I tell you, Brandon, just a winner. I mean, he is a guy. I still can see him running up the sidelines on the touchdown in the championship game. Brandon is a guy that is very unselfish. He's just one of those high character guys that does whatever it takes for the team to win. And you're only going to have successful teams with players like Brandon Vessel. I mean, Brandon is that guy. He's that unselfish guy that he'll do whatever he can to help the football team win. And you'd like to say there's a ton of that. Those are rare breeds, and man, he is a special football player for us.
Then a kid who was quarterback last year from Vicksburg, T.J. Johnson. He's playing wide receiver. He played quarterback last year. Talk about his development.
T.J.'s going to be a star. He really is. He's athletic. He's had a couple of touchdowns in our scrimmages. Like I said, he's tall, fast. He's got a high ceiling. He really does. T.J. He's going to make some plays this year. He really is, and excited to watch him play.
What about Diego coming back? Diego Sama.
Diego, he got hurt that first year. He's coming on. Diego's, and one thing about I truly respect Diego because he's fighting through everything and he's doing it well, and Diego's going to be fine. He really is. He's battling, and there is a lot of competition over there at that spot. And that's just the reality of that position. Sometimes you're a really good football player, and you look up and there's a lot of other really good football players, and so he's in competition right there. But he's done some good things this summer. 24 minutes after, we'll take a timeout here. We'll look at the defense when we come back in 60 seconds. Give us a call, 601-877-6595. We'll look at the defense. It was ranked number 19 in the FCS a year ago. A revamped defensive line, new defensive line coach. We'll talk about it when we come back in 60 seconds on the Jay Hopson Radio Show.
All right, 25 minutes after 6 o'clock, let's look at the defense and some things to talk about there. Jay Hopson, defensive line coach, leaves. If you get another coach, Coach Nicholson, raw up front, but a solid back end with experience. Talk about the defense of 2015.
Well, we're pretty much half and half on the defense. We've lost about half our starters, and we have about half returning. That's kind of where we're at defensively. We've got some young men that are back that have just been, I can name them: Anthony Williams, Warren Gatewood, Damon Watkins, Darren Moody, Deion McNair's back from 2013. But there's some guys that have come back that have been those all-conference type performers. So the 5 or 6 that we have back have really been big-time players in this league. So we're excited about that. We have some young guys that fill in the other spots that I'll start off at linebacker. Mike Hearn steps up there, but Mike's played a lot of football for us. So even though Mike's getting his first opportunity per se to be the starter, Mike's really played a ton of downs on defense. So we feel good about that because we have experience back. Up front, Mike Brooks has had a really good camp. Mike, young man from Brandon High School, he's done really good. Stacy Garner's had a good camp. Monte Bell inside has had a good camp. Kenyon Brantley, has really done some good things too. So we've seen some flashes in there, and of course, not to mention Moody, but he already mentioned he's back. He's one of the returning starters. But some of those young guys in there, and I mentioned earlier Terry Whittington, the defensive end from Florida, that's a freshman signee. I think Terry's going to be a really special player for us.
When you look at that front line, new defensive line coach Derek Nicholson, talk about the job that he's done.
Derek, I tell you, he's done a tremendous job. Derek's a high-energy guy. He's a high-motor guy, and I think that's what all good defensive line coaches have to be. And I think that's something that he is. He played the position. He's got energy, and that's what I love about him.
Damian Watkins, of course, he talks about coming back and looking forward to getting it done in 2015. Damian Watkins, he was at Sweat Football Media Day along with John Gibbs. You talk about the experience on that back end. How important is that with Gatewood, Cantu, and Anthony Williams III? One guy, Nicholas Brown, talk about him.
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned all good football players, and Nick has Nick was having a great camp the first 3 or 4 days, but then he had a cramping deal, and he missed probably about a week and a half of almost 2 weeks of summer camp. So that's kind of set him back a little bit, but Nick's going to be a tremendous football player here. He just kind of got set back with injuries, So, but he's getting back healthy, and he's practicing good this week. So we'll gradually see him continue to make progress off of that.
You work a lot at practice on the defensive side of things. Talk about some of the things that you see and why you work so much on that side.
Well, it's one of those things that I've coached that for a long time, and that's something that I try to let my coaches coach and my coordinators coordinate. But it's something I sometimes like to go share a little bit. I'm I got a little bit of old quarterback in me too. Some of the bug John a lot. But one of those things that I like to do is that there's things that I need to tell them. I'm gonna step in and tell them. That's my job. But I'm blessed to have a tremendous staff, and like I said, Damon said, we've got some really age and experience coming back. We do have some young guys, and that's part of the journey, just growing up quick, and hopefully we'll do that.
We approach the bottom of the hour. We'll take a timeout here, and when we come back, we'll look at the special teams. We'll be taking your calls. We'll talk about some of the off-season developments, and we'll look ahead to Georgia Tech. We'll hear from Commissioner Dewar Sharp, as well as Athletic Director Derek Horn. We'll talk about the upcoming season. All that at the bottom of the hour here on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. We'll be back in 1 minute. Charles Ladarian, he's going to be out for the year, looks like. Ladarian.
I don't know yet, so I don't want to talk about it. We don't know yet. I mean, but they're getting it checked on. But could be a blessing. He's talking about coming back because he's still got another year. This is only his 4th year. So.
It was kind of like
I saw
a little family adventure.
Tip's ready.
Yeah.
I saw he didn't dress out in that scrimmage.
It's just because it's collarbone. He's ready though.
Okay.
He's ready.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 31 minutes after. We owe you a station break, so we'll take it right now. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening live to the Alcorn Football Radio Network. Halfway through the Jay Hopson radio show as the Braves get set to take on Georgia Tech 72 hours from right now, 6:30 Central Time kickoff because of television, probably about 6:33, 6:34. You know how those things go on these TV games. Jay Hopson, we have a message, a question for you. How do you keep the team focused on this season and keep them from getting the big head this season and thinking everyone will bow down to them on game day? This is from Big Head.
Well, football is kind of like boxing, I guess, a little bit. Once you get hit in the head a couple times, you realize that what happened in the past doesn't matter. So I think, again, I think that's the beautiful thing about playing Georgia Tech. Right? I don't think we've got an excellent football team we're playing. So, that's a good thing for us. So we're getting ready to take on a big challenge, and I think our guys understand that. I think they understand they've got a top-notch quality football opponent they're about to play. So, like I said, I'm one of those guys. I don't really, you know me, Charles. You've been around me a long time. I don't get into the hoopla and that. It's going to be what we do between those lines. All that other stuff. We can't worry about what the band or the cheerleaders are doing. We can't worry about the atmosphere of the game. We can't worry about who's selling hot dogs up in the stands and who's chanting what. We have to be ready to play. If we're going to be successful, we're going to pay attention to detail. If we're not, if we don't, we're not.
We're going to be dealing with this triple option on defense, and we'll talk about that as we get into the Georgia Tech preview coming up in a little bit. All right, let's look at special teams. You had an all-conference kicker in Hayden McRaney, second team all-conference. Then on punt and kickoff returns, Tip McKenzie, Jarvis Turner, Ragsdale, Anthony Williams III, Charles Hughes. Talk about what we can expect on punt and kickoffs, and Hayden McRaney, of course, coming back for yet another year.
Well, I think on our return game, Anthony Williams has done a tremendous job. I don't know if he was second in the country last year or not, but Anthony's always been a great punt returner for us. Kickoff returns, Jarvis Turner, and we got quite a few guys. Marquise Warford, don't forget about that name. He's a young man that's done some really good things, and he's a dynamic guy. But all those guys that you mentioned will get probably touches in that kickoff return game. Charles Hughes certainly is a guy that's caught some punts for us in the past and has that playmaking ability. Hayden in the kicking game, of course, we need a big year out of him. He's a guy that was a second-team all-conference player last year, and he's a guy that we're going to have a big year out of him in the punt game and in the kickoff game. And I think that's field position is always critical, and points are always critical. So Hayden is extremely valuable.
Marquiso Jean. I was out during the summer looking at things, and I didn't see Marquiso at the beginning of camp. I didn't see Marquiso Jean, and I thought, and I think we all thought, that he was right there ready. And I know it's hard to displace an all-conference kicker, but I thought he was ready to make that next step, and fortunately didn't come back.
Well, Marquiso, again, we all know Charles has a strong leg. He and Hayden's leg are comparable. Marquiso actually had first downs on the job. He was our starting punter in 2012, and unfortunately, we had about 10 to 12 drops early in the year, and I think that's probably where it was a tough situation for him, and he struggled. and at that time, and we instantly started to have a little bit better kicking game the next year. And I think that's something that Hayden did bring to the party. He's able to kick off, to kick field goals. Marquise was mainly just a punter, but Hayden's been been a two-time all-conference punter. So, and Marquise is a young man that certainly we wish him well. We wish him well in what he does, but Hayden would have been a starter this year too.
Yeah, I saw on campus, and bouncing around, I saw signs posted up in different places looking for kickers.
Yeah.
How did that go? Were you able to find some legs?
Well, we always want to have a 2 and 3 back there. That's always important. It really wasn't for a starter, but we've actually found a couple guys on our team that are actually pretty good. Ant Williams is an excellent kicker. He can boom, and Brandon Vessel's done some good things. So we got a couple of players there that Ramon Atkins is really an excellent punter. Can punt it extremely well. So, we got some guys there, but we're always looking for another hand. So if we can find one, we'll keep those signs up, and that's something that you never know. Ernesto did a good job for us too, so he was a good backup kicker for us.
Well, I talked with our compliance officer, Jason Cable, to see if I had any more time
we'll
left
right
on.
now. We'll have the tallest kicker. We'll have the tallest kicker at the conference, that's for sure.
Has expired.
What we might do for that, we might just throw some alley-oops to Charles.
All right, we'll take this time out here. We've looked at offense, defense, and special teams. Give us a call here at 601-877-6595. We'll talk about some off-season news, and we'll hear from Commissioner Doer Sharp for a little bit, and we'll talk with Harold Mitchell, the Director of SWAC Officials. That's coming up, and a Georgia Tech preview is coming up. 37 minutes after 6 o'clock. Glad you can join us from Natchez to Vicksburg, the beautiful campus of Alcorn State University, online. Glad you can join us. We'll be back in 60 seconds. All right, welcome back. We are live here at the beautiful campus of Alcorn State University. We have a call. Keisha will be getting to her in a matter of moments. It's 38 minutes after the hour. Coach, some off-season news and notes, a lot of good things, and we lost some great Alcorn leaders during the off-season, and one that jumps off the sheet for me, and I was a part of it, and thankful to be a part of it, and you were a part of it, the passing of Davey Whitney, sort of a football component there, because one of the championship rings you presented to the Whitney family. Talk about that whole process.
Well, you hit me at the heartstrings here. Coach Whitney, that's probably one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had at Alcorn. Just going to Biloxi, and we used to go down there for the tour, and we'd go down and just hanging out with Coach Whitney. And we would stay out late. Coach Whitney and I stayed at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. It'd be late, at least 3:30. And just talking. Basically, I was trying to learn as much as I could from Coach Whitney, the wisdom and the knowledge that he had about athletics, period. He's truly a legend. I said this at his funeral. There's only a few times that you really sit in the presence of greatness. And when you sat with Coach Whitney, you just felt that. You could feel you could just feel it. And from one coach to another, there's certain coaches that are just magical, and Coach Whitney is one of those guys. And again, he gave me a lot of wisdom, and we talked about certain situations. We had long talks, and that's something I'll cherish to the day I die. that's one of the special moments in my life, you know, just those nights spent with Coach Whitney.
What's the one thing of your conversations with him that you take with you every day?
Well, Coach Whitney, the one thing that probably to our team, to me, is the next game's the biggest game. You know, that philosophy is something that definitely struck me between the eyes. Another thing I love about Coach Whitney is, you know, he had that philosophy, why can't you win every game? You know, and that was Coach Whitney and to a T. And but definitely a special time, a special man, a great man, but just blessed to be around him and just know him.
41 minutes after 6 o'clock, let's go to the phone lines. Keisha calling from Houston joining us. Good evening, Keisha.
Hey Keisha, how you doing? Doing good. Keisha, thank you so much. You know we miss you here. We have your seat. We have your seat waiting for you right here, Keisha. It's empty, so you come on back anytime. We just miss you here. That's right. That's right. The purple and gold's on.
All right, Keisha.
The real. All right, Keisha, take care.
All right, thank you. Keisha, thank you for calling. Keisha calling from Houston. And she's worked with us here on the show. She's been here in the studio and down in the Houston area. Jay Hopson, one of the other big, off-season things, there's a couple actually, the Celebration Bowl that everybody's sort of getting fired up about the momentum. A lot of folks thought it didn't happen. A talk show host of mine told me back in December it's going to happen. And a lot of folks didn't believe it. I wasn't skeptical, but I was just thinking the timeline, it may not happen sooner or later. It happened sooner. Talk about, give us your thoughts on the Celebration Bowl, the winner of the SWAC versus the MEAC.
Well, it's really an outstanding thing for our conference, and kudos to Commissioner Sharp and just getting it done. I tell you, we're the only FCS conference, the MEAC and the SWAC, that actually get to go to a bowl game. So, you win your conference, you go to a bowl game. We can sell it just like any other FBS school, and I think it kind of separates us in the FCS level. And I think it's exciting because it's going to be a big crowd. The championship game is always a big crowd, not to mention the Celebration Bowl. So it's a chance for SWAC and MEAC schools to be on national ABC television, playing in a bowl game in Atlanta, in the Georgia Dome. Just really exciting stuff for our league, and think it's outstanding.
44 minutes after the hour, then the other news that occurred in the SWAC meetings, spring meetings, the introduction of the 7-game mandate. You win your division, you got 4 games in your own division, 3 in the opposite division that will determine who will win your division and go to Houston. There's been talk, conversation about that. Jay Hopson, your thoughts?
Well, I have to see how that is divvied out before I really completely can give you a true answer on that. I don't completely, I don't really completely understand it just completely yet, because the 4 and the 3 just how it mathematically matches with us and the other side. So I'll, when that schedule comes out, I'll be more educated to talk to you about that.
44 minutes after, and we'll take a timeout, and we'll be right back. Alcorn State University, a $900,000 grant. We'll talk about that, and we'll pivot into the Georgia Tech game out of the ACC coming up on Thursday. We'll take a 1-minute break, and we'll be right back after this.
Hey, I still hadn't figured that thing out. I didn't feel like getting into that, man. That's mathematically doesn't even compute to me. I mean, there's no way it mathematically works out. There's no way it mathematically works out. It's impossible.
All right, 45 minutes after the hour. Glad you can join us here. In about 5 minutes, we'll be talking about Georgia Tech, give you a preview of that game. Justin Thomas, their junior quarterback, they run that triple option, won 10 games last year, beat Mississippi State in the Orange Bowl, should have beat Florida State, so a big challenge ahead. But the Braves are ready, and great fan base in Atlanta, great Alcorn alums in Atlanta, looking forward to that game. 6 o'clock, the pregame, kickoff at 6:30. We talked about it leading into the break. Jay Hopson, the university, and compliance officer Jason Cable, $900,000 grant from the NCAA to help academic support services. Talk about how important is that, especially from the football perspective.
Well, just that's just fantastic. Jason did a tremendous job there. Dr. Rankins and Jason, it's amazing. It really helps our student athletes, and just kudos to him, and it helps with summer school, it helps with fifth-year graduation, all those things that are so vital and important to student athletes, and again, just a tremendous job.
Yeah, and that will help financially fund a lot of different things, and we'll be talking with Jason Cable at the half of an upcoming football game to talk more about that. But congratulations to athletics and Jason Cable for getting that. One of the things I want to get your thoughts on, Jay Hopson, and I'm on the internet a lot. I'm on these different websites, and it's just unfortunate you see it at the pro level, and unfortunately you see it at the college level. Off the field conduct and issues. It's something that the new SEC commissioner is trying to get a handle on. What is the message to your team? I'm sure you say this often, and we've done a really good job, I think, of taking care of those things. But what's your message, especially when your team walks off that field and conducts themselves accordingly?
Well, Charles, you just want guys to do the right thing. That's really what you want to do, and that's throughout life. It's not just as a college student, through your whole life, that you just want to do things right. We know kids are going to make mistakes sometimes. I mean, that's part of the journey of growing up. But at the end of the day, I think as a coach, you try to be that positive influence on a young man to say, hey, this is the way, this is the right way to do it. And you try to live by example. You try to do the things that, and hopefully they see some of those positive attributes. Nobody's perfect. We all know that. I mean, that's just kind of like he who was out sin cast the first stone. Nobody's perfect. But, the one thing that I want all my players to, when they leave the program, if there's just one thing that, hey, makes them or helps them in life, that they learn from our coaching staff, we've done a good job. And that's what we want to do.
And then with social media, I mean, stuff blows up before you even really get it. And that, do you have to deal with the social media aspect with stuff getting out on Twitter and Facebook? Is that something that you have to address?
Well, you try to talk to them about it because it's out there forever. But, it's a different world than we grew up in. Social media, there's a lot of positives for all the internet access but there's also a lot of negatives too, and when you try to tell your young men is, hey, that's out there forever, so be careful with what you do on social media. And then I have daughters, and that's something we try to tell our daughters, you got to be careful. But it's, it's just the way of the world now. We're in a different era, it's a modern technology world, and, kids have phones attached to the hip now, it's just completely different than it was when we were growing up.
49 minutes after, we have a caller from Atlanta. We'll be heading there on Wednesday. Terry calling from Atlanta. Terry, is everybody excited about the game coming up in 3 days?
Hey, Terry. Keep them straight, Terry. Keep them straight in Atlanta. Okay. Terry. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks a bunch.
All right, Terry, we appreciate it. All right, 50 minutes after, one announcement, Gerald Quinn in Brookhaven, there are seats available. They have a bus heading to Atlanta. And for more information, call 601-754-1177. It's Gerald Quinn in Brookhaven. They have a bus heading to Atlanta, 601-754-1177. Because of time, we will have to kind of ask the commissioner. I had it, Commissioner Sharp, Harold Mitchell, Director of Officials. I had that, but we'll get to that at another time. We'll take a time out and we'll look at Georgia Tech, the Rambling Wreck, the triple option, Paul Johnson, the head coach. We'll look into it coming up after this 1 minute timeout. It's 51 minutes after the Jay Hopson Radio Show. We'll return in 1 minute. All right, 52 minutes after the hour. Let's look at Georgia Tech, Jay Hopson, out of the ACC. You announced it on your show last year, kind of midway through. Hey, we're going to open up with Georgia Tech in 2015. And I was excited then. I'm excited now. This team was, probably a minute away from beating Jameis Winston in Florida State. When you look at this team, what do you expect here on Thursday?
Well, they're an outstanding football team, Charles. I mean, you don't become the Orange Bowl champion without being an outstanding football team. And possibly, like you said, should have and maybe been the ACC champions last year. So they're a team that has the national playoff picture in their sights. They're definitely an ACC championship contender, and they're a playoff team contender. You got an outstanding quarterback. He's very good. Justin Thomas, a very elusive player. They've got, I think, a lot of their linemen back. Defensively, they're very veteran. A lot of seniors on the defense coming back. So they're a veteran football team. But it's a big challenge. But it's a challenge that we certainly look forward to.
So when you look at Georgia Tech, and I've talked about it and heard about this triple option. Explain that in when I'm thinking option, triple option, wing tee, all of that. Talk about the triple option and what are some of the keys there.
Well, I mean, the flex bone is basically what they run, and they've been so successful. Paul Johnson's kind of the godfather of the flex bone, and just done a tremendous job with it ever since his Georgia Southern days to Navy to Georgia Tech. It is definitely difficult to prepare for. You don't see it very often. That's something that you've just got to adapt, and so that's our challenge to get ready this week for it. We certainly don't spend the whole summer working on the triple option because we've got to get ready for the season. We've taken these last 7 days, 8 days, and we've put it in and we're working it, and it's something that's a big challenge, but it's a challenge again that we're excited and looking forward to.
These Thursday night games and opening up against a nationally ranked team in Georgia Tech on a Thursday night, what challenges, when you look at the Thursday night concept, playing on Thursday night, some like it, some don't, some schools can handle it, some can't. Does it matter to you? It
really doesn't. As long as it's, it really doesn't. It's at the end of the day, we played a Thursday night game, I think, every year just about, So
played here at home last
year. If I had my preference, Saturday, yes. I like the routine of Saturday to Saturday. I mean, but sometimes for TV's sake, you play on Thursday, and it's a great opportunity just to showcase Alcorn State University, and we get a chance to put our university on cable, ACC network, national TV, And the more chances, last year I think we had 3 ESPN nationally televised games. So, that's a positive. We're getting Alcorn State on national TV, and that's what we want to do.
Speaking of TV, or lack of TV, at least right now, this is the only game that we're going to have on television. And I don't know if you probably don't have much to say about it, but that's kind of surprising and a head scratcher to say the least.
Well, we can't, as a football team, you can't worry about that.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity to be on TV, starting off with Georgia Tech. So hopefully we'll go out there and represent Alcorn.
Their quarterback, Justin Thomas, a 5'11" redshirt junior. He was the Orange Bowl MVP, had 1,086 yards rushing, school record, 3 rushing touchdowns versus Mississippi State. For all the talk of the triple option, talk about their defense, Jay Hopson, led by defensive end Kashawn Freeman, an All-American at 9.5 tackles for loss last season and 4.5 sacks.
Defensively, they're really good up front. I think that's probably their well, I shouldn't say it's their strength. They're pretty veteran across the board, but they've had some all-conference players. I think it's the young man from Australia, '96. I'm horrible with names, but he's an all-ACC.
Adam Gotsis.
Gotsis.
Yeah.
He's the leading vote getter, I think, in the ACC up front. So you got some players that are really talented, and again, we've got an experienced offense, and we got a lot of seniors, so it should be a fun bout.
P.J. Davis, 119 total tackles. Linebacker, 82 solo last year, so that's another piece in the puzzle I have to deal with defensively.
No question. Again, you don't become the Orange Bowl champions if you're not extremely talented and a very good football team. That's just common sense. So we know they have our utmost respect.
Tell you what, it should be an interesting week of football. You got, for the first time since I've covered this league in 1986, week 1, a number of our conference teams playing up. Jackson State, Middle Tennessee State, that's FCS, but got Grambling playing up, Southern playing La Tech. I'll be there to watch that one. There's other matchups, A&M, Alabama A&M playing at Cincinnati. Boy, how interesting is that, playing those type of games in week 1?
I think it's good. I think that's great for our league. I think that's a really exciting deal, and I like that.
Well, Coach, going to Atlanta, great fan base, and a lot of folks are already talking about it. We just heard from Terry. What's just the excitement of going to a place in which you have a lot of supporters in that area?
Well, it's certainly exciting. I know we'll have a lot of Braves out there supporting us on, and that's always, it's always fun to play in those environments. I think that's what makes college football fun. So it's an exciting time. It's the first game of the season. So that's always an exciting, opening kickoff. Everybody's excited. So, it's on us now. It's football season. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, Coach, we appreciate it, and let's go get them on Thursday.
Charles, appreciate it. Always a pleasure, man.
Coach Jay Hopson joining us here on the Jay Hopson Radio Show on this Monday night. Don't forget, folks, Braves pregame, the Alcorn pregame show with a new theme song behind it. Will kick off at 6 o'clock, and we'll be on the air at 6 with the kickoff around 6:34 on the pregame show. Of course, Jay Hopson will give us a Georgia Tech preview. You heard some of that. We'll have more of that coming up. We'll hear from Paul Johnson, the head coach of Georgia Tech. We'll talk to their radio guy, John Gibbs, will join us on the pregame show. And at the half, first of a 2-part interview with Alcorn Athletics Director Derek Horn. He'll join us Thursday and against Alabama State. We hope to get Alcorn's president, Dr. Alfred Rankins Jr., when we return home for our first home game against Mississippi Valley. Well, that'll do it for the Jay Hopson Radio Show, the season premiere. We broke it all down for you. Don't forget, you can send us an email anytime. We'll read them on the air, football@alcorn.edu. Thanks to one and all. For our great producer, Jamario Brooks in Studio A, I'm Charles Edmond. We'll talk to you next Monday night on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. So long.